This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com with your Sunday update for this 24th day of October 2010. And now for the real news. A series of reports on contactless payment technologies appeared in rapid succession this week, once again highlighting the coordinated international agenda to create a global cashless monetary control grid. Last week, Sony announced a partnership with RFID technology company HID Global to supply contactless smart card reader devices to laptop manufacturers. The devices will combine Sony's industry-leading contactless card technology with HID Global's identity verification technology, setting the stage for a time when people will be able to sign into their laptop or pay for an item simply by bringing their RFID-enabled identity cards near the computer. Also this week, the European Payments Council released a white paper on the standardization of procedures across Europe for implementing mobile contactless payment systems to allow Europeans to pay for goods and services directly from their bank or credit card accounts using their mobile phones. Not to be outdone, the United Arab Emirates is now bragging that contactless e-payments will be as common there as in any other part of the globe within 2 years, due in large part to the growing metro network, which is being used to get wary UAE residents used to the idea of paying for goods and services through an RFID-embedded card. Far from being an unusually busy week for cashless payment system news, these reports merely highlight the nearly daily stream of information conditioning the public to accept a future society where all transactions take place in digital form, and every such transaction is monitored, processed, stored, and data mined by government intelligence agencies and the multi-billion-dollar corporations that own them.
Next month, Barclays will start issuing contactless debit cards, which allow you to make payments under £10 without entering a PIN number. And this is not just about cards. The contactless technology in these is now being transferred to these too. There's a growing feeling that the mobile phone could become the digital wallet of the future. And that could not just make cash irrelevant, it could make cards obsolete too. So it's the mobile phone which may become the best way to pay. Here's how one expert sees life in 5 or 10 years' time.
When you go to buy a cup of coffee, you'll just tap. If you're buying a pair of shoes, you'll punch in your PIN and tap. And if you're buying a car, you'll speak and your voice or your fingerprint will identify you, and then you'll punch in a PIN and tap.
Predictably, the establishment media does not afford any time to critics of this nightmare Orwellian society to criticize these cashless payment systems for giving banks new ways to inflate and leverage imaginary digital currencies and new and ever more brazen attempts to defraud the public, for giving corporations unparalleled access to information about people's shopping and spending habits to construct detailed, personalized customer profiles and relational databases, or for ceding power to governments to implement carbon rationing cards or other schemes to micro-engineer society in hitherto unimaginable ways, but instead choose to give one representative of a British retailing group 9 seconds of screen time to raise concerns about pricing under this system.
What we're concerned about is that contactless is a replacement for cash, but it's being priced at a much higher rate for debit, which is about 4 times the price of a cash transaction for a retailer.
Now, attempts to demonize cash in the run-up to a wholesale rollout of the coming cashless society has reached almost comedic levels. This Wednesday, the Danish city of Aarhus began touting a contactless payment card called the School Card, specifically for school children to have a way to pay for goods around the city without carrying cash. In justifying the scheme, one of the project's corporate partners states that it is well known that receipts and coins carry bacteria, and this can represent a danger of infection, particularly when handled by children around mealtimes. The fact that corporations are launching multi-million-dollar cashless payment trial projects using school children as guinea pigs ostensibly to solve a problem that could be taken care of by encouraging children to wash their hands before eating comes as no surprise to observers who have noted that the cashless society is an essential next step for the oligarchical interests who have much to gain from being able to remotely and digitally track, trace, and control every aspect of our lives. As filmmaker Russo warned in interviews shortly before his death in 2007, Nicholas Rockefeller had confided in him how this type of identity control cashless payment society was going to be used by the elite powers behind the throne of global geopolitics to bring in a technological tyranny, the likes of which the tyrants of the past could only have dreamt of.
And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
Earlier this year, the Corbett Report talked to Alex Jones of Infowars.com about how the general public can resist the implementation of this cashless control grid.
We need to expand our barter community. Even if you live in a city, you can raise fish, you can grow small crops, you can start bartering with your neighbors, try to use cash as much as you can, get your money out of big mega banks like JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and other big mega banks that are part of this cartel. Support local credit unions. Go talk to the credit unions, get involved, educate people about this threat so that they're aware of this. Again, this is designed so they can bring in total taxation, bankrupt almost everyone, and drive you onto government welfare so you're even more dependent so they can carry out the eugenics operations against you and your family. I mean, number one, just educate yourselves on how evil this controlling scientific technocracy is, and realize that Eisenhower in 1961 warned about this development, and here we are 40 years later, and it's unfolding. Create alternative legal currencies, trade in silver and gold. We see in the U.S. they're trying to come in with $1 million fines for garage sales, for swap meets. They're trying to shut down gun shows, stop shopping at places like Walmart and big mega stores. They are economically conquering us and putting us on modern plantations, similar to what was done to the Native Americans. We must realize that we're being put into a scientifically designed prison. We must awaken to this and do everything we can to stop it.
In other news this week, the idea that Anwar al-Awlaki is being groomed as the next Emmanuel Goldstein-like war on terror boogeyman was further evidenced by a new video message from the dastardly al-Qaeda mastermind to the Muslim world on the 10th anniversary of the al-Qaeda attack on the USS Cole. In the video message, he warns Muslims that Islam is facing great dangers and is in need of guidance from Muslim scholars. Observers note that the fact that this message was delivered by al-Awlaki and not the animated corpse of Osama bin Laden that has delivered previous video addresses to raise the specter of the war on terror during heated American political campaigns is a sign that al-Awlaki is now one of the key players in this fictitious terror organization. Embarrassingly for the Defense Department that is attempting to use Awlaki as a justification for the $1 trillion a year military-industrial invasion, drone bombing, and occupation of Middle Eastern countries, it emerged earlier this week that Awlaki was invited to dine at the Pentagon with the Secretary of the Army as part of an outreach program to the Muslim world shortly after 9/11. He was supposedly there to present ideas about moderate Islam to the Secretary, but the FBI was investigating him for his ties to the alleged 9/11 hijackers at the very same time as he was being wined and dined at the Pentagon. Since his one-on-one meeting with the Secretary of the Army, he has gone on to puppeteer every major act of terrorism under the Obama administration, from the Fort Hood shooter to the Christmas Day bomber to the Times Square bomber. Many are now noting that this is nothing new for the CIA-founded and run al-Qaeda organization, with several key U.S. government agencies, including the White House, the Secret Service, NORAD, and the FAA, all using computer software developed by a company which was founded by specially designated global terrorist Yassin al-Qadi. FBI whistleblower Sibel Edmonds' revelations last year that bin Laden was actively working with the U.S. government right up to the day of 9/11. Or the FBI agents who were frustrated by their own superiors in their attempts to detain and question the alleged 9/11 hijackers before 9/11, that they joked that Osama bin Laden had a mole working in the FBI headquarters. No word yet on how the establishment parties of the left or right will attempt to spin this latest video from the Pentagon-controlled war on terror asset to their political advantage. On a lighter note, Toronto Police Constable Adam Josephs is suing 25 YouTube users for $1.2 million for posting comments and videos critical of him and his actions. Constable Josephs is better known as Officer Bubbles for an infamous incident that took place during the G8 G20 in Toronto earlier this year.
If the bubble touches me, I'm going to be arrested for assault. Do you understand me?
Bubbles.
Yes, that's right. It's a deliberate act on your behalf. I'm going to arrest you. Do you understand me?
I understand.
Right, you're going to be in handcuffs. All right? You either knock it off with the bubble. You touch me with that bubble, you're going into custody. Right?
I'm putting it away.
Right, thank you.
But I would also like to know.
You want to bait the police. You blow that on me or that other officer and it gets in her eyes, it's a detergent. You'll be going into custody.
I understand.
Do we understand each other?
I do. I would
And put it
appreciate
away.
I am doing that at this moment.
Right.
I would really appreciate
Discussion's
it
over.
if you could treat me with a bit of respect.
I just did. I just did. You got what you deserve. You got my respect. Right?
I don't feel very respected. I'm just
That's terrible.
trying to keep you happy.
My heart bleeds.
Of course.
The incident gave rise to a popular series of parody animations on YouTube that depict Officer Bubbles in a series of situations arresting people at will for made-up infractions of non-existent laws, evidently intended to satirize the original bubble-blowing incident. Now, Officer Bubbles has launched a lawsuit against YouTube users to sue them for comments and videos because, according to his lawyer, the free speech of anonymous commenters on YouTube was inciting death threats and threats of violence against Officer Bubbles. The lawsuit also attempts to compel YouTube to reveal the actual personally identifying information of the users who are anonymous and have been identified in the lawsuit by their YouTube handles. One of the people named in the suit, a YouTube user known as Pussy McFats, but who has publicly revealed himself to be Todd Mara, a married father of two from Hamilton, Ontario, wrote a comment on one of the Officer Bubbles videos, quote, "Officer Bubbles probably looks at himself in the mirror a lot," end quote. It's unclear exactly how this could be perceived as inciting anyone to violence or how bringing a lawsuit against someone making such a comment disproves the observation in any way. In fact, Murrah was quoted this week in the Toronto Star as saying, quote, "I'm a compassionate person. I don't think he should be ridiculed forever because of this. I was done with this in June. I left my comment and never thought about it again," end quote. At this time, it is not known how the case will proceed or if YouTube will be compelled to reveal the identity of users who dared to criticize the actions of Constable Josephs. Now please go to CorbettReport.com to download the audio MP3 of episode 156 of the Corbett Report podcast, Foreclosuregate, where we talk to Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster and Max Kaiser of MaxKaiser.com about the deliberate fraud perpetrated by the Wall Street banks on the American public in the housing market and what it means for the future of the world economy.